And we are live. Welcome to episode 4 of the 667 experience, where we talk about six packs, six figures, and Sabbath. What that means is we talk about health, wealth, and spirituality, and we like to get into it. I'm here with one of my best friends and co host, Jordan Rouse. Now, I've known Jordan for a long time, and he's the kind of guy that him and I, we just dive into conversations, and we know each other so well that we can kind of really challenge each other on a lot of things and go deep on different subjects without worrying about triggering each other or anything like that. So we decided to take this to the airwaves and to take it to social media and just have some candid conversations with each other, just like we always do. And so with that, I'm going to kick this off by just saying, hey, Jordan, what's up, buddy? How was this week for you, bro?
Yeah. Well, this week we're going to talk a little bit about back to work, I think, because that's been on a lot of people's minds. Like, when is this going to lift and all those different things. So, what's been up with me is sort of the same thing. I feel that people are getting back to the regular grind of things. I think they're finding rhythms, the new normal, people kind of call it, but it hasn't changed a ton other than we're more conscious about our hygiene, I think, which I don't think is a bad thing in society. So now I know I want to shake someone's hand or something in the future, it's going to be washed, which is great. So you'll probably have less flus in the future and colds, which I'm pretty pumped about. So hopefully society moves there. In general, business has been good. It's been picking up. I've been doing, like, myself, a lot of education and development. I've been using the extra time that I have just to, like, revamp and kind of, like, update my skill sets. It's just been fun. And then just a lot of time with the kids, like a lot of time in the park on a bike. My one little guy's learning to ride its bike. So yeah, we didn't have any crashes this week. That's a good thing. So
Nice.
lots of fun, right?
Nice. Yeah, my week was a really interesting week. For the last, like, I don't know, since 2013, like, just network marketing, like, just busting it, and going and building business, and, like, you've seen my crazy endeavors that I've, gotten into, and like, pulled off these crazy, businesses that I've launched and built. And but it's a lot of grind. It's a lot of, like, you're always pushing, always pushing, always pushing. You create, you're reaching out, you're connecting, you're following up, you're making sales, you're booking meetings, you're always doing that. And at a certain point, I think I felt like there was this disconnect with, like, the deeper parts of myself. Like, I was forgetting, like, who I am, like, outside of the pursuit of money, outside of the pursuit of wealth and all that kind of stuff. There was this part of me that was feeling this disconnect, and it would show up because it would cause things in my life, like stress, anxiety, situations in relationships and business dealings, etc., like, would kind of show up. And they were just reminding me of, like, if you're having, like, you're dealing with, let's just say, difficult people, right? Because when you're doing any type of business or entrepreneurship, you're dealing with interactions. Interactions cause friction. And there's a lot of friction, as you're pushing, because if you want to progress, you've got to be willing to face more interactions, which means more possibility of friction. And it's easy to disconnect and get lost in that business world. And, like, so I started to think, with this time out, like, I should be, like, 10xing, like, on sales, 10xing. But instead I'm like, okay, I'm actually, like, my business that I've spent all that time at, like, it's good. Like, these people are running, they're doing their thing, they're crushing it. So like, what is the next step for me? And lately I've been really focused on building up this a media company. It's called 7 Day Weekend Media, 7 Day Weekend Mastermind retreats, workshops, and it's all about more connection. It's about casting vision. It's about helping people become, like, the fullest expression of themselves. And so in that, I've been just focusing on this new amazing routine of my life. Like, I got an e-bike, I got a PA system, I'm getting back into my guitar, I'm working on my songs, like, becoming a singer-songwriter, what I mean? Like, I've been able to create this amazing epic mobile concert slash workshop for myself, you know what I mean? Like, in my bike, and it's just really neat. And so I've been geeking out, but having the time of my life. And I've also had some just incredible connections with friends. Like, I did a birthday party with a good friend of mine, Steve Curtis, right? And he's one of the most intelligent, amazing people, beautiful soul I've ever met in my life. And we're doing a virtual Zoom birthday party, and honestly, I've seen this new way that socializing is unfolding. It's almost scary because there's this strange fascination about being in the, in the matrix, in like on the Zoom. Like, this is how we meet now. Like, we don't have to go anywhere. There's no stress. There's no anxiety. There's nothing else to do. We could go watch a show, but we're hanging out in communities. You can change your backgrounds. You can have some fun. You can, and it's different because it has to be more facilitated. You can't really have like 10 or 12 people talking at one time. So there needs to be more like digital facilitation for these new events and the way that we're doing things, and it's really freaking cool. And so I had a taste of this sweet goodness of the future, the possibilities that we can start to extrapolate here and really start to unfold. And I also, I created my Facebook group, 7 Day Weekend, right? So that's going to be where I'm going to have interviews and podcasts and stuff more about talking about, like, how do we really level up in soul set, mindset, and skill set, and community and connection, and introduce amazing new conversations into the narratives. You know what I mean? Like, bring some of the smartest people, the biggest thought leaders to the game to really get them in with creating this new world that we're entering. You know what I mean? There's ways to really thrive, to bring the best of everything. Maybe the world needed a bit of a timeout. Maybe we needed to be pushed apart for a second, just to see how to really truly connect meaningfully, powerfully, emotionally. So that was my week, and
That was deep.
it was good. It was a good week,
That was fired off deep, man. So
man.
there's a lot of things you unpacked, and I'll throw a little bit of my week on, and not just so surface. So I've been diving deep into terms of like how to really go exponential with what I do. So a lot of the things that I have, my value is I built up a really, really strong network in my life, like close people who have good trust because I've always done the right thing by other people. And now opportunities are flooding in from around the world, from London, Singapore, XYZ, all these different places. And I'm able to leverage my connections and make international deals happen. This is pretty nifty little let's say evolution in my life. And I've watched people go from like running sports stores like our buddy Brandon to like running international trading companies as he is right now, which is like a fantastic new jump in tier, right? And this kind of evolution that I'm dealing with made me realize a few things. First off, you only get what you ask for. And if people would just start asking better questions, remember this old adage, and I heard this when I was a kid, the quality of your life depends on the quality of the questions you ask.
Totally.
But I thought that was the quality of questions I asked to others.
Hmm.
No. It's the quality of questions I'm asking to me. Like, where am I going to get up and spend my time? Where do I draw meaning in my life? How does that promote the goals I actually have for myself? Are my goals aligned? Are my values seeking those goals? Like all these things, I didn't realize, like I always thought it was an external thing. And that question is like a very internal. So I just decided to ramp up that game because I had this deep realization probably like last week sometime. And it was that when they just started printing all this money, Shane, I let go of like money's important. It's really not. They're just going to print another $2 trillion next week or something, and the fact that we're working for hundreds of thousands per year or whatever we do, or wherever you are in life, tens of thousands of dollars or wherever you're at. It kind of silly, right? That governments can just make
But
it
hang
up.
on a second. You think it's silly, but I think, here's the thing. What would a perfect world really look like? And I'll give you a vivid visualization, a description, and let me know what you think is possible.
All right,
So,
utopian vision it
a
is.
utopian vision. Are we not already there? What if every month the government gave you $2,000 or $3,000? Now, hang on a second. Hang on a second, Jordan. What if? Think before you really. I want you to think about this. Really think about this. Like, I want you to all, if you're watching and listening, meditate on this. Looking at where we are. What if there was no one starving? What if we had robots manufacturing things so automated that the food would always be there? And what if you always made enough money to have a good lifestyle? Jordan, hang on. You got to really listen to this. Now, what if The way that if you want to increase your wealth or your things that you get beyond that is to add value, create ideas where you don't have to worry about how you get by. You'll have good health, you have currency to get by, and what we do is we as a society focus on community and connection. Community and connection to level people up in such profound ways that here's the thing, like there's this if you've ever noticed there's someone who's building a company, okay, when they no longer have to take care of themselves financially, Jordan, when they no longer need to make sure they got bread on the table, what happens is they can pour so much more in to their business, so much more in to their vision that that's when businesses often just rocket out, right? When they finally got to that place where like they're building this and they're raising this and all that kind of stuff and the ideas over here and they're going to sell this over there, when that covers their monthly need, they no longer have to spend time working in it. Now they can work on it to scale and expand and grow. And we're reaching this place digitally with value. I mean, the ideas and the concepts we have now, 100 years ago, wouldn't have even made freaking sense. This thing, the internet, ads, running ads? Like, what do you mean running ads? What's
No,
ad spend?
well,
Right?
don't go too far down the chain. I get where you're going with
Right.
it.
So why aren't we there? Why aren't we there right now? Why does something have to be in debt? Why does money have to have, oh, it'll inflate? What if we just lock it? You're like, okay, well, prices just stay here.
Well, first off, it's economically impossible. I'm going to answer that one. Second, that the type of world you're saying, it sounds good, but when you look at the macroeconomic theory of something like that happening, it's near impossible because production, the value of creating units of some good to make, is the basis of an economy. So we've done historical experiments, Shane, and I'm going to explain these historical experiments, and I'm going to see if you draw a correlation into what can happen. Now, the mass population in general is motivated by fear. Okay. And that's dominated our consciousness for not just a millennia, but millennias. Okay. This is how people have lived. Do I have enough food on the table? Do I have this? It's biological reaction is we go to work so we don't starve. We have a roof over our head. History has proven if we provide without that benefit or without fear being there, that the general populace will not do work. They will not go out and perform that. Okay, and I'm going to dig into history and show you why this happens. Okay, so the first thing is there's been mass, let's say, cultural genocide around the world. I want to acknowledge that first before I dig into this because it's a pretty deep topic. But for example, when the British took over Australia and took over Canada, they institutionalized the Aboriginals in both places. They took away their way of life, their way of living, and really said, just rely on us. We are the government. This is the way it is. Well, what happened? You took away their culture, their ways, everything. It really, by providing that level and saying, this is what you have and this is what's given, they fell into this. And the story is the same story. Exactly, almost word for word is the same in Australia as it is in Canada with what happened with Aboriginal, with the policies that happened. It caused their society to break down and lose its constitution because the government infringed so much institutionalization on them that it decimated who they were, their societal footprint. And so let's say this, if we come in and we just give checks away for people who are unproductive, who do not merit this, then what happens is you're rewarding a behavior that you don't want. And so we know out of the theory, just baseline psychology, what you reward, you get, right? It's positive reinforcement. So, hey, you do a good job work, I'm going to give you payment for today. I don't believe we are at a spot today where automation is ready to provide that level of autonomy to the human race. Do I believe it's coming? Now, this is where you're going. Like, in 50 years, will
But
we
hang
be
on,
there?
wait, Jordan. Okay, wait, stop. Okay, I want to just intersect there. Okay, so look, what I'm saying is this: is the money that the governments are giving away is not enough money for someone to thrive. Okay, it's enough money for people to get by. Okay, and it's not like whether it's 2,000 or whatever it is a month. Like people, like that's not That's not like vacation money. That's not like so what I'm saying is the natural nature, like the nature of man is to progress and expand. And and
Is it? Is that really true? Or is it the nature of some men and women? It
so
is
it's a
not
culture.
the
No,
nature of
it
all.
is certainly a cultural thing. It is certainly a cultural thing. But the thing is, if that isn't their nature and it is for others, okay, what is wrong? What is wrong if somebody just wants to live to get by, okay, versus someone who would choose to go beyond that threshold and expand and create? That requires effort. So that who requires no effort does not really get much. But that the person who puts in a lot of effort to create something new, to create value, to create monetary, like to create money or income, that person, okay, has the ability to. But there's no, you know, rock hard, like you're going to be homeless and on the street and starving scenario, is what I'm saying. For those who choose not to act.
So you're saying a minimum standard for everyone to achieve. So for example, Switzerland, okay? You at minimum have to get 50 grand a year in Switzerland. That's like their make sure every citizen gets this.
Okay.
So like this experiment has been tried where we call it universal basic income, okay? And where you try UBI, it has not been very successful to the populace to be productive. Okay. When you're talking about mass economies like Switzerland, who have huge innovation, one of the best education systems in the world, they literally speak 4 languages by the time they're 10 years old. Okay.
So what's wrong
French,
here?
German, Italian, and English. Okay, this is a very intelligent population, very innovative, and what they prize in their society is different. Their cultural norm is so the one place it's worked is there. On the other places that they've tried it, it has been very unsuccessful. Because what's happened to do that, Shane? Imagine you're importing people from other countries. They have different cultural values, different way of doing things, a different adaptation. So they're going to come to your country and they're going to eke out benefits in a large majority. So this has happened in France. This has happened in Germany. This has happened in so many different Western nations. So this experiment, what happens is they'll come in flush from refugee, whatever you want to call it, and then they eat up social benefits and they kill the social benefits for the country. So the question is, if you can have that, how do you culturally enforce people to take the route to productivity, to capacity, to production, to support that universal basic income? Do you have the institutions that are strong enough today to do that, like Switzerland? Massive banking, massive technology, massive multinational conglomerates, right? Like Nestle chocolate. You think about these companies. That is not possible on a global scale unless we stop immigration, which is never going to happen. And I don't promote that whatsoever. I think that immigration is a good thing. It allows us to be culturally diverse around the world in understanding of one another. So what we're proposing, this experiment where we're giving people money, it's going to do 2 things. First off, people who have money are going to receive a lot more, because the fact is people who are given money who are already broke will be broke again soon.
Yeah.
And the
They're not
condition is people who
responsible.
have money like us will get more money because it comes into our hands because we're providing a service, and that's what capitalism does, and the free market, the hand of the free market does.
Yeah.
So I can appreciate that the government wants to give money, but all that's going to happen is the story of the history of the world. The 1% end up with all the money. Throughout the entirety of our global human experiment, the
But there's never
1%.
been a time where, yes, and of course the 1% will end up with, but that's a natural hierarchy of, like, for
Mhm.
example, the person who makes the 1%, people are like, oh, that person, they make all the money, but you have zero ability to work at that person's capacity. You know what I mean? That person, their mind is like sometimes often exponentially more, like, creative than other people's. You know what I mean? Like they're willing to get up at 6 a.m. and discipline their life and read the books and meet the people and make the connections and spend the money to invest in themselves. They're willing to go that hard for that long. Very few people have what it takes I mean, very few people have what it takes to be a leader at a very high level. There's standards of leadership. You know what I mean? I've been very blessed. I'm friends with people that run multi-million dollar companies, and I've seen outstanding leadership of world-class thought leaders and people. And so I've been able to see standards, and I see how hard it can be sometimes in different challenging situations. Very few people have the wherewithal, the consideration, or the compassion, or the empathy, or the capacity to run multi-million dollar businesses. You know what I mean? And why would they want to? Like maybe they just want to hang out with their family. You can be married to your family, or you could be married to your work in the world. You know what I mean? And you can be passionate about both. I pray that you're at least passionate about whatever you're married to. You know what I mean? Whether it's whoever. Sorry, I understand whatever.
Is you're
But you know what I'm
married
saying?
to a cheetah
Did
or
I just go
something?
there? I don't know where. I just went somewhere weird, but we're gonna get back. Just back over here. Just a little bit longer. Hang on. It's coming. Where did I even go? Where was I going, bro? Like I just kind of
You got to
like
be
went
passionate about life,
passionate about
right?
life. Where are we going from there? So, look, I think that in the world that we're heading into, I think that that calling, like, what is better or worse about someone who lives in a small little tribal community, okay, versus someone who runs a multi-million dollar company? The only thing that actually matters in life is the intrinsic value of a human being. You know what I mean? The true and is that person happy? Are they blessed? Are they living a good life? Are they enjoying their experience with people and themselves and God and each other? Like that's the only thing that really truly matters, is that consciousness. And so I don't think having success takes anything away from having not like from the intrinsic value of a human. And what are the standards with which we gauge success? I think it could be in experiencing love, joy, peace, goodness, faithfulness, kindness, gentleness, and self-control. I think that's success.
So that's a huge question. You literally just asked like what the point of life is. So
667 experience. We're going there.
so let's not unpack that completely, but let's go back to the start of why we're talking about this. So can people have joy and happiness? Yeah, if you look at the happiness index, it doesn't really change over poor or rich companies or countries. Actually, the more money you get, the more stresses you
Totally.
inherit.
Right. A
So,
lot of crap
like when
involved with that.
you're talking about happiness, and I don't want to dig too deep into like what makes a good life. From a personal perspective, I think it's love your God with all your heart, and love your community and the people that you can impact, and provide a better life for them. So you leave the earth better than you found it. Because what people don't understand about wealth is that it's all borrowed. It wasn't yours before you got here, and it's not yours after you go. So, you're a conduit for whatever wealth you get. So use it responsibly. And the more responsibly you use wealth to promote others and promote good things like companies and developing jobs and sustainability and the environment and taking care of around you, yeah, you're going to get more money. So to unpack back to what we were talking about, is it a good idea to give away money? I'm absolutely no. On that, without mandatory social or military service, I'm on a no on that. Now, what I believe, if you want money for free from the government, I'm okay with having those programs. But if you live off the government for more than 3 months, you're enrolled for mandatory social service, where we teach you a skill and you can choose. And you get great schooling, and you get given a job. If we want to have universal basic income, that's how it works. You get
But
given
what
a
I'm saying
social
is
career.
automation is replacing jobs. What are the jobs needed? And I'll be honest with you, I kind of disagree with the requirement of service to survive. I disagree. I think that is a discompassionate method in humanity. I
It's
think
not to
that
survive, Shane. I'm only arguing if you want free checks from the government with my tax dollars and my
Wait, hang on
tax
a second,
bracket
bro,
at
because we're
54.
talking about there's a universal base salary for people. So like, what is the extra if they charge you 10% or whatever? Like think about this for a second. If money is just a thing, and if you want to have more, if it's set at a bar, right, it doesn't go any up or down, right? and you
Which
get
it
this much
does.
money.
It's
You want
cheap.
more, you want to have more stuff, you want to have more life, you basically have to do more things. And you can work a job, but if you didn't need to, then you didn't want to. Or if you didn't want to, you didn't need to. You could get by and have your, like, your thrifty, get by. But if you want to do more, you've got to, you can go and develop those skills. So I like the idea of you should take a course. I don't like the idea of it being mandatory.
I
I
if
think
you
I
want
think it should be
if you
encouraged.
want the money,
Yeah.
okay, I'm only saying if not, if like if you just don't want to get any money from the government, you can do what you want. You're free. But if you want to ask for money from what I believe is a conglomeration of people that live in a certain place that pay certain money to support a social structure, like for example, Shane, my tax bracket in Canada is 54%. Okay, here in BC. Yip-de-doo. Thanks for the tax raise this year. I think they actually pinned it around 50 this year because the COVID. But I'm paying every dollar I earn, I pay 50 cents in tax. So do I think that I want to be more highly productive in this country the way it is? If I'm a super high earner, they're gonna raise my taxes more to give away UBI, and I'm just gonna be, oh yeah, I just want to work even harder. Or you talk about people who quest to be neurosurgeons who make 500 grand a year and they're taxed at 50% on every dollar. They're gonna want to quest to be that neurospecialty surgeon. Some might, but a lot will get pretty angry that they're working 12 hours a day doing crazy surgeries while having to pay for all the people who are not. So it's that old balance, Shane, is who's going to do the work. Now, if you watch that last podcast by Elon Musk and Joe Rogan, Elon Musk highlighted the issue. He's like, the world's starting to forget to actually do something useful, you have to produce something.
Yeah.
It has to be a service or something of value to other people, a product, right? And he's like, if we stop doing that, the world stops moving for people and chaos happens and people fall into despair. Because there's an old saying from the old biblical days that idle hands are the tools of the devil, meaning that if a person doesn't have work to do in their life, they become destructive because they're looking for purpose. And I think if we give people like money just all the time, there's going to be a lot more destruction. We already see the opioid crisis in our communities. Okay, we already see mass uses of drugs, mass uses of alcohol, all these different
Okay,
things.
so I get that. I get that. We see that, but um, again, I think that if there's certain containers and boundaries and structures in place, okay, that could be facilitated quite well. I think that you have to get people to a certain place of peace in their life. Like, okay, but at the end of the day, here's the other question: is the other thing to talk about. Even Elon Musk said, and some of the wealthiest people in the world. I watched a TED Talk once, and there's a bunch of incredible speakers there, and they're like, in the future, it's going to be just all automated. Like, it'll be the life you just want to manifest. You want to go and take a yacht over here, go do that, and maybe regulators and whatever, or like maybe they will finally end the war on drugs, like literally the bad stuff, like the cocaine, the methamphetamines, the heroin, the crack, like that kind of stuff. Like, can they put an end to that? Maybe people switch over to more plant-based medicines for healing and all that kind of stuff. Like, maybe the world goes back to the trees in the forest, and at the same time, like, maybe there's a little bit of that getting back to the land, right? That needs to happen. And I mean, we're moving into a really interesting future. What if this whole Babylon type society starts to collapse and really unravel because it just can't hold itself together? And next thing you know, in 50 years, we're like, in tents and cabins and things out in the woods.
So
So then it's just a matter of community and helping take care of each other, and 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 you have to do stuff because now you don't have AI, you don't have technology. You got to go out and like plant some seeds. You got to go water the plants. You got to go cut and groom the wheat. You got to go back to the land and just work it.
I absolutely hope not. I hope not. I hope we don't fall out of progress, and I hope we go back to that stuff. It would just be a huge digression in where we're going, or regression, sorry, in where we're going in life. As human beings, we have a species, a trajectory of where we're becoming. Like I view the future as where we're half automatonic, like where we have biological parts and we have machine parts. I view us advancing in many different ways. I view our farming and our cultivation getting way better. I view our environmental responsibility, because there's only one beautiful big blue earth, and we're going to start taking care of that a lot better. People are realizing that. I admire the ocean cleanup stuff that's happening in big ways, and that the great companies that are out there pushing alternative energies and things like this is great. So, but it can't go the way you're saying. Society won't break down, and it's fundamentally for this reason. It's because people would rather keep what they know than the devil they don't. And that is a story of forever. And now, with the advent of nuclear weapons, Shane, it changed how empires rise and fall. There will never be another large scale conflict, because, like, the US has super nuclear weapons, Russia has super nuclear weapons, China does. You can't do what you used to do. We all kind of got to get along, because mutually assured destruction got us there. And so I think that today in the world, we're going to have to grow in consciousness and use our words, and we're going to have to punish the bullies economically, which we've been doing. For example, in Iran, the nations came together and kind of said, "Hey, stop your crazy stuff." And I think they're going to do the same similar things with China. I think that that's going to happen very, very soon for their bad actorship amongst this crisis. So where's the world going to go next? I think the big thing is people are going to get back to work. I think that automation will continue to rise, but I believe that new innovative careers will begin to rise. I believe that we will have more support from the government than we did before. I think education will become free, which, as a taxpayer, I'm happy to actually pay higher taxes to give people free education, because I suffered through student debt and had to pay it off. And I would rather see the next generation not have to do that. I think that it would be better to have free education, so a private-public kind of mix, and give the chances for anybody of any background to rise up and do well.
So let's talk about education for a second, because I mean, what are the industries that make people money right now? E-com, affiliate market. Like, we're now at a place where we can create extraordinary incomes, and we're all at a place where working jobs at job sites is going to be very different. There will be less people working, more physical jobs, more people doing online jobs. And so the education is now like the Ty Lopez, the Grant Cardones, the Gary Vaynerchuk's, the people who are online teaching marketing, affiliate marketing, making products, manufacturing products, events, stuff that's online. There's so many new things that you're not going to learn in school. So what do we look at if someone has legitimate, like, now I think what's going to happen, this is what I'm starting to see, is we're going to start seeing more digital nomads, digital entrepreneurs, success stories who create curriculums and courses to receive grant money, and the governments can give grants to those people for the people to be a student. Like, what, and then how are the like, how do you, like, that's a
So
whole
I,
thing right there to
I,
talk about.
I would I would say that's an egocentric viewpoint, because that's where you're coming from. I would say that we would reward the activities that we desire. So in the past, that when we're granting things institutionally, what we look for is what jobs are in higher demand. So if I'm looking at the jobs of the future, I think engineers, scientists, I think specialized agriculturalists, I think builders, construction, I think those will all be in play, even though some things will be automated within them. I think robotic technology will become a large integration in society. I don't believe that we'll move away from large scale institutional education. I know that some people will, like marketing and sales, and fundamentally, people who have not been educated as engineers or scientists and don't want to go back to those institutions to learn those things, then yes, they're going to fall into that bracket that you're talking about. But do I believe that the government will sponsor that? And I don't really, because I don't think it's a useful activity. It's not going to be deemed as a product of utility. The utilities that are going to come in the future are going to come through innovation and creation and domination within science, technology, and service. And so they're going to reward those ones, and institutions that they already own, which will be large government institutions, which you've probably been to, like UBC or XYZ here in Canada, super big ones like University of Toronto and McGill. Those are the institutions that will run the programs, because first off, they have history of doing it well. Second off, they have rigorous ways of building those course curriculums that provide good and decent structure. And the third is I've never seen someone super successful having done only online, okay? Only the online component of education, because the true success becomes the passion of your peers that you interact with in a lab setting or interact with in a business setting. Why do you go to business school? Network. It's who you get to meet. And that's been a lot of my power in my life. I don't think that's going to change. I think that connection you're talking about has a lot. And I
Yeah.
believe that education, again,
Okay, so I see. Yeah, the value in the attendance of school are really the pivotal relationships and the value that you create in those, and the connections and the networking that you make that you do, right? And as young and budding entrepreneurs start to grow and blossom, having those essential core relationships and that foundational understanding through continuously being there and learning those guidelines and structures is actually beneficial, because they're going to start to it's like you have a solid, like, proven foundational, um, principle based, sorry, I said that wrong, but a principle based foundation and the right structures to really build something solid on.
well, I think that will move to the German model. I think it is the most effective model on the planet. Israel's adopted it. And if you don't know about it, it works like this. So schools are separated in vocations in grade 8. So what happens is they do tests at you in grade 8, and you're always given a choice. Of course, you have a choice, but they do a test and they see how you're acclimated. So are you more acclimated towards trades and those sort of things, or are you more acclimated towards the science, engineer, literature? They have different schools for different ways of putting people. Now, why do they have the most highly effective economy in the world? Because they're basically giving people in high school 2 years of university before they even enter that stage of their life. Now, the German model allows you to understand, activate, and go at your career when you're 12 years old. And so that really puts you in a pipeline for success, and that's why they have a very highly effective economy. I see that happening here, and I see an online interaction component happening in a big way. And I believe that people will be allowed to study outside their curriculum, but it will be done on their own time. And I think that will be potted, to say the least, about our skill sets, our abilities, and what they identify while we're young into certain vocations well at that time. I think it's a very effective system. It's a little bit scary from a government perspective to be allotting kids and giving them such deep guidance at a young age. But at the same time, I think that that is what's required in the age of automation. And there's not going to be menial jobs. Like, you're not going to have people working at gas stations in the future. That's not going to exist. You're not going to have people flipping burgers. That will be completely automated. So, when you look at all these industries and sectors, that's going to push people to be engineers,
Yeah.
scientists, technicians. There's going to be a huge role for
Inventors.
technicians in the
Yeah.
future, right?
Huge.
So that's where I think it's going. And that's how I love
I
watching Germany, because Germany's always ahead of us all the time.
really. No, it's a that's an interesting perspective. So laying it out that people do need something to do to have meaning and purpose, and I think something like 15, like when transportation is fully automatized and you're not even driving your car anymore. Apparently, that's going to be like 15% of the global workforce, small jobs, etc. Like, what is the percentage of people that work like cashiers and flipping burgers and all that kind of stuff? Like, what is the percentage of population in North America that work those types of jobs? Like, that could be completely, eliminated. So it's just, I think we're going and seeing this massive, massive shift, and I think there's a lot of fear in that, because we're moving so fast that the old ways are changing, and well, they're dying and they're just changing. There's this massive transformation happening, and and we're collecting so much data, so much knowledge so quickly, and things are escalating so rapidly that even the ideas and the concepts that we can best come up with now in 5 to 10 years will be mostly completely invalid, because there'll be so many things that, even like with AI's development, man, it's learning ridiculously fast right now. Like, we might already be in the simulation. You know what I mean? Like, what is
No.
going on, right? Who, like, it is like, imagine something that is, you can't even imagine something that's a million times more intelligent than you. and has access to all of the world's data. Like where are we going? What have we created? What's going on? Where are we going to be in 5 to 10 years with this type of technology, this type of growth? We can make these ideas and these plans. We're going to have this, and people will be engineers. But literally, what if in 5 years we all plug into virtual reality and we just live forever in a virtual thing, and we upgrade our bodies and we fly around like unicorns and angels? And
Well, personally, I wouldn't plug in.
what if you did, but
That's
you
my
didn't know?
personal choice. I think that life's a journey and we should all die. I think that that's a fair thing to say. We've done that since the start of time, and I have a deep faith in God, and I believe
Yeah,
that there's something else other than this
love
plane.
it.
I believe that would be a perilous shift towards the evolution of spirituality within the world. And also, it would be weird to be like Ready Player One all the time in a game. And I would not take the blue pill. That's all I'm saying. So the idea is what you're expressing is interesting. I would say Elon is the most accurate person to answer that, and he answered that a
Yeah.
week ago. And he said that we're 5 years away from talking to one another with an implant in our mind. Now,
He said
with the
5 to 10
advent,
years. I watched that, but he was like, and
5 to 10, but he most likely said about 5. And the idea that he's there, so he's very ambitious. I give it 10. I agree with you. And the next portion is, what does that do to the world? So you've heard that Google invented a quantum computer, right?
yeah,
And so this computer is like the size of a fridge, and it could outdo the other best computer, which was built by IBM, which was the size of 3 football fields. And only 53 of 54 of the quantum pieces were actually working, which is crazy to think that that computer could, even all the encryption on your phone, it could break your phone's encryption in 2 minutes. So security, I think, is a big thing that people don't understand in the future. Before I'm willing to put something, let's say, technology based in my head, like we're talking about Neuralink, I really want to know it's secure, so someone doesn't flip a switch and I go shoot somebody.
yeah.
That's a scary advent when you're talking about firing neurons in your
You have to
brain.
have like quantum encryption. Like, is that a thing? Is that possible?
It has to be, but there's some delicate issues that are out there right now. Like everyone's worried about 5G. Okay, and do they have reason to be? Well, they should have been worried about 3G because 3G is way more long range and can be turned up to fry your brain just the same. But people don't pay attention when now it's up to 5. It's got to be more dangerous. It's like the same. They weaponized that kind of technology back in the 1940s, so it's not like that's not new. Okay, and the fact is that I'm worried that putting a quantum processor on your head will maybe cause brain cancer or something. I'm not a
Well,
neurosurgeon.
dude, there's people who, they have like for like deep brain stimulation prods, like rods that go into their brain and actually create small electrical impulse, like pulses or something like that for people with like like severe damage or trauma or something going on with their brain. And so that's been out for a long time. Actually, it's not, and I don't know, and I have to look into it. But that's a good question. What are the rates of
But if it's
cancer increase?
implanted,
Like Elon Musk's thing is it's going to be like a little, they drill, they go like a little core sample. They literally are going to be like, "Choo, choo, choo, choo," and they take these because, like different people and some of the advances that they're making are like, okay, so if this person, for example, has a spinal issue, okay, they get a spinal issue, and it's really, they just need to connect a couple things here, right? Or if they've got a movement disorder, or if they've got, like, and we can go into all of the different facets,
I get
emotional,
you.
mental issues, etc., right? So they literally drill a core sample of your skull, pull it out. They stick this thing in, and it sticks these crazy, super small little needles into those brain cells at targeted areas with like the most precise precision that I think we've ever come up with. It's pretty
I,
phenomenal.
I,
And then
I
and
have
then you would just put it on, and then they basically just go. you know?
I absolutely love the fact that you just said they're gonna drill a hole and take a core sample from your brain. No, they will
No, no,
not.
no. Like I said, like a core sample, but they don't actually drill a core sample into your brain. Obviously, they just drill your skull.
Just,
They take
oh,
it out, and then they dig these things into your brain. They don't actually take your brain out. Like, sorry, I
there's
guess
a piece of your
I could have
cortex.
reiterated. I could have iterated that a little bit better. Yeah, sorry
That's
guys. They're not
funny.
going to do core samples from your brain. That would not work. They're just going to stick little tiny electrodes in it, and
Remember what they used to call lobotomy? That was a core
yeah.
sample of
But
your
that's the other
brain.
thing is like what happens. So like when you do drill your brain, like that's there's what is that trepanation? It was called a trepanation. They would actually there's a cultural thing. I'm not sure which society, but they drilled holes right in the forehead and then let all the cerebral fluid pour out, and then someone would just have no cerebral fluid in their brain, and they get like a crazy thing because their brain is in a different state, so it kind of permanently alters. And so,
It's called dying. Yep.
well,
You drill a hole in your brain, you
no, no,
probably
not in your brain, just in your skull. They take out. It's a thing. Look up trepanation. Go look it up. It's really interesting. I'm not recommending that people ever do it. I'm just saying.
yeah, that sounds a little bit
It's
nuts.
kind of crazy. Like people have done all sorts of crazy things in different cultures all over the world. Like, I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised that people literally thought, I got a great idea. I'm going to drill a hole in my head. I know what happens. Holy smokes, this is the best thing ever. Like, who
That's
actually
the
thinks of that?
craziest thing I've ever
It's
heard,
almost like
man. That's a
milk. Milk is a strange thing if you think about how we came to milk. Yeah, look
I
at that
agree
cow.
that if people out
Let
there
me
are
get that
drinking
milk.
milk, because it's meant to fatten up a calf, if you don't think it's going to fatten you up, hey, you got some things to learn. But both me and you are the same on milk. I still have a little almond milk. I'm not gonna lie, from time to time, or a little bit. I actually have some hemp milk. That's kind of
Nice.
good stuff.
I got almond milk. Yeah, I found that when I drink milk, and again, like I think I've had unpasteurized milk, and that's a very different story because it has the enzymes it needs to digest itself, but when it's pasteurized, it doesn't. And I used to drink milk so much. I don't know how we're talking about milk now, but I'll finish this thing. I used to drink milk so much; it was like a staple, And I love milk, but then like now that I'm a little bit older, I seem like I get like I got eczema, a little bit of eczema in my ears, and sometimes I get itchy. You know what I mean? And I also get phlegmy if I drink milk. Like it seems to like flare up the eczema a little bit, and then I get a little coffee, like a little bit more phlegm throated. Like if I eat cheese and I love cheese, I still get a little bit of that like So I'm like, okay, if I eat this much cheese, I'm gonna cough this much. Okay,
Yeah, yeah,
equation calculated. What am I gonna do tomorrow, or what I'm gonna do later? Am I gonna be talking to lots of people? Then I probably shouldn't eat lots of cheese because I'm gonna be clearing my throat for the next hour or so.
they'll
Right?
think you have the corona.
Yeah, yeah, right. Especially now, I gotta watch your cheese. Not
We
so
used to do
much.
this
Not so cheese.
stupid thing when we were a kid, Shane. We used to have this bet, right? And we say, "Hey, man, if you can drink this 4 liter of milk and not throw up,
Oh yeah, the four.
we'll give you $10." So the guys are on the floor, just in pain, just in pain.
Oh wow.
Yeah, when we were kids, that was fun. Hey, if
Yeah.
you're at home, don't do that. It's like really not fun. it's,
That's
it's
funny. Oh, man.
really, really not fun. So, man, there's tons of stuff to unpack. I'm gonna go back to like we start talking about the week, then you're like, okay, well, what about life? Where's it going? All these different things. I think that everyone's gonna have different ideas, and I think that no one has a crystal ball in the world.
Mm.
But I can tell people a few things. I'm going to tell them you got to continually educate yourself now. I think more than ever, you got to start reading. If you don't read, pick up and read. If you don't work out and get fit, you're going to be left behind because your body slows, your mind slows. Your mind can't keep up. You get lethargic. You're going to do the dopamine thing where you do the easy things, which not what Netflix, play Candy Crush or something like everybody does. I can't believe how big internet gaming is and how many hours people spend weekly.
Crazy. It's crazy, man. Like, dude, there's online stadiums. We're in a different. I mean, yeah, it's been going on for a
Well,
while though. But
dude, even in my family, there's people that play Candy Crush, like not my kids or my wife, but there's people that play Candy Crush in my immediate family for like 10, 20 hours a week. Like that is to me that's
so that's the
phenomenal.
problem with the universal currency thing is like it can, or like the standard. Like if everybody always, like addictions, if not like vices, if not disciplined, can become addictions. You know what I mean? Like those games, that little thing, and that can lead to some unruly and not so awesome behaviors, right? And so, yeah, I mean, there's things, but again, if you shift the narratives in the culture enough, right? If you shift the narrative, like what, like you shift, like people always have idols, you know what I mean? Like want to do this and the escaping this. Nothing wrong with having a set time for stuff, but if people learn a little bit more wisdom and that becomes the cool thing, you know what I mean? Like if people really value and have learn how to have exceptional connections in community, I think people will naturally drift towards spending more time with each other than spending time apart in games. You know what I mean? I think that what we've lacked was proper understanding in the mass collective on how to really connect heart to heart, mind to mind, soul to soul. I think we've really lost it. But now there's so much growth. There's so much upside. There's so much development. We have grown so knowledgeable that and so connected that it's really easy to introduce powerful narratives that influence people towards making better decisions, better connections, and not just that, but to give more value and to be their best selves, because it allows us more now. Like like now there's like all of the addiction treatment programs that are out there, the workshops that are out there, the leaders, the thought leaders, the Tony Robbins out there, the different people who have been out there making a message to create impact. The Joe Dispenzas, for example, right? Like brilliant minds, the
Joel
Joe
Osteen.
Polish, Joel Osteen. Yeah, like these people, like, exactly, man. These speakers, like there's some great Christian, great religious speakers in the world, right? But we are now we're entering an age where we've got to go back to the wisdom, back to that community. Because look, the dad who used to have to go to work from 9 till 5, and he had to drive from 8 till 9, and from 5 till 6, and come home, and he was away from his, like, that doesn't need to take place. And so there's more ability for a proper parental, what's the word I'm looking for? Proper parental, proper
Upbringing.
parenting, proper connection with parents and kids. You know what I mean?
That's so okay. Like, it's
Like
hard to
a
say. So
blacksmith, for
Shane, it's
example.
hard to say. Like, I have a digital job, but I work more than the average person. Like, I'll work 14 to 16 hours a day. But it's because I'm a high achiever and I'm addicted to it, just like anything else. Like, we all have our addictions, but at least mine's work, and that's been a productive mass producer. I schedule my family time. It's in my calendar because I believe that if something's intentional, it gets done. And so, do I think that this switch to where we're going is good? I don't know. It's different. And can we stop it? Nope. So, unless you
What do
want
you
to be
mean?
a
No.
hippie
What do you mean
living
we
on
can't
like
stop
a,
it? It's going. The train's already left the station. We're on the
it's
ride.
it's
We can't
done.
go
It's
back.
done.
We're
And
going too
I
fast
love
now.
how,
There's
yeah,
no
that's right.
brakes. We're
No
going.
breaks. No
Keep
breaks
going.
is
No
done,
brakes.
right?
We're
So
on, guys. There's no brakes. The train has left the station. We're all on the train, and it's going, and there's no going back. Where are we going
this
next?
reminds me of that show,
Where are we going
Back to the
next?
Future. Back to the Future. Remember Back to the Future, Shane?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
dude. That was
It,
actually what was the main character's name?
Marty McFly.
Marty. Oh yeah, sorry. I was thinking first. I was thinking Futurama for a second. Yeah, Back to the Future. Marty McFly. Man, yeah, we're there. It's going forward.
But it's funny, right? Like how they went to the future and we all had flying cars, and that was the thing. They could never imagine the interconnectivity of human beings and the platforms which we communicate and how we build our lives up. Flying cars they're already here. Like Uber has the helicopter port thing going on already, right? In the UAE and different places. So they're zooming around and live these little like mini drone helicopter taxis.
Crazy.
So I think that the future is exciting. I want people to stay happy about it because there's going to be opportunity. I think there's going to be free education in like westernized nations. I don't know so much the United States. It's always a little bit behind the curve in terms of like social policy. It just always will be because they have a weird libertarian kind of offset. But I think free healthcare, free education are like paramount to our next steps, allowing people the space. And this is where I agree with you. I think there's a point in time until you're X age or you've continued your schooling. Once you give up your schooling, that's it. You're off that train. But I believe that we should pay for them to get the education that they need to become the person they want to be, right? So they got one shot, and you got to keep a certain grade, and you get your education, and you keep it there and work hard, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think that we can set that up and do it responsibly, and then people don't have to have student loans, and they can have a higher quality of life when they come out. You know, so many people come out of school now, $50,000 debt loans, $100,000 debt loads. That
Crazy.
is that is on their mind all the time, right? Like I need a job to pay this, then they got their rent. Imagine having Shane, if you had $100,000, that's $1,000 a month payment or more. You know that these kids are coming out of school with degrees with, and some degrees aren't even getting them a good job.
No, I know.
You,
I know people who are hammered. Like student loans are tough. I agree. Like I agree, education should be free. I believe that there should be qualification. You know, like a level of ascension. Like okay, so um, where am I going with this? Like
you got
how
to at
would
least
they? How would
maintain a
they?
C plus or something. You got to show up to class. That's what I like. I think it should be an attendance thing because a lot of people just aren't that bright, and that's okay. I think
Man,
that,
I fell asleep every single class in grade 12. I would go to math class and I'd be like out.
bro,
I
that's
was
that's
out.
why you never became a software developer, all
Man,
right?
like it literally would put his chalk to the board and it would be like and I'm like it was like a program. I would sleep. I had a good nap. Yeah, it was nuts.
I see, like it was different than my math in grade 12. Math was always simple for me. The hard thing for me to stay awake was English. I'm like, I already speak this. Why am I in this class?
They
I'm like, no, you need to
don't need
write
to be
like
teaching us
Jeffrey
English. Not
like Geoffrey Chaucer. I'm like, I don't care what they sounded like in 13th century England. You can take a piss. I don't want to be part of this class. And that was my feeling of that. Or Shakespeare. Oh my gosh, drive my head through the wall. Like I get people really talked fancy back in the day, but man, was it boring
like
to
okay.
go
So
chapter for
here's the other
chapter.
question. And okay. So it sounds to me. All right, I'm gonna throw something down here, and this is probably already happening.
Okay,
So
fire.
so look, cultural and personal and social conditioning through media. This is where we've been for like ever since TV. Okay, okay, TV and music have come out, and it conditions cultures. It creates new norms, changes things, changes political structures. It creates different intentions and it creates different visions and ideas and impulses in people. Look at, for example, really vulgar like rap music. You know what I mean? People who listen to that tend to generally be a little bit more hostile because it's very hostile music. When I was in heavy metal, right? And I was a very hostile person because I was listening to very hostile music and there was a lot of violence that I had within me and it would super amplify because I was listening to this music. I was like, ah, like moshing and wanting to fight and just like, get it out. But like, if I was listening to Bach, or something, or Beethoven, or if I was, like, I probably would have come out a little bit more sophisticated. Anyways, but I know where I'm going with this. But look, now look, okay, I know where I'm going. I got back full track. So now kids are on the internet. Kids are on the internet. Here's the problem is we don't know all the ads that are seeing. And so if I'm interested in a Jeep, I start looking up Jeep, I research Jeep. What do I see? Jeep ads, Jeep this, car ads, other cars, competitors, Land Rover, all these people trying to reach me because I'm looking for Jeep, right? They're targeting, they're trying to like, ooh, you're looking for cars. Let's see what car he wants. You want this car? And everyone's trying to give me their best pitch on why I need that car because I was looking for cars. And so what that does is the best marketers can maybe I wanted a Jeep, but all of a sudden I bought a Range Rover. Okay, well, why? Because there was such profound, effective marketing. It changed my desire. I went with that instead of the Jeep. Right now, let's Now, what happens is when you've got people growing up in this technology and they're seeing these things, and it's like giving them more and more and more of what they want, of all their interests. And it's also conditioning their mind to to be at this place of, I know I can create more. I want more of this. And are we like, but where's the balance? Because it's so intense, it's so focused. It's so much data on that. That it, like, what is the new, is this actually leveling up our mindset? Like, how do we establish the ability to gather our wherewithal in this new tunnel focused vision of technology? Because people get funneled down. They want something, they have an idea, they have an inclination, they have a small desire, and all of a sudden they have exposure to being able to manifest the fullest expression or the fullest experience of that small little desire. And so, what does that change us into as we move into the future? How do we control? How do we know that the next generation of kids aren't like literally going to jump full into plugging in the matrix and just jump into the machine because they've been so conditioned that they look at it as something to crave, to desire, to want to experience and be.
So that's a hard question. We don't is number one. Um, if you're worried about your kids doing that, don't have kids. That would be my advice. The second portion of that is, how do you build a strong constitution of a person? Well, you personally, I introduce God to my children at a very early age, and I give them a set of standards, morality, however you want to call it, guidance to allow them to make the most sound decision they can, because I give them a reference frame that hasn't changed for thousands of years. It's been, one thing. That's a personal belief of mine, and I think that it builds strong families. I believe that the way you raise your kids, consistency, diligence, structures, absolute moralities, these things will garner success. And I believe surrounding yourself with a community of people that you trust and you want your children, your family, yourself to be like, is the thing that does that. And I also think valuing the things like, me, Shane, I'm kind of a minimalist. Like, I don't own a lot of things. Like, I just don't care. Like, I don't even care about my bank account, to tell you the truth. Like, I love to know two things: that I have the ability to create companies when I have that opportunity. And I like to have fun with cool things, but I like to have it for a moment. I'm like, all right, drove the Lamborghini. That was fun. I'm like, great day. I want to walk away. So I think that it's shifting the culture of I need to have to I need to experience. And I think that having those experiences, like what you're talking, where Elon is saying that we're moving to a culture where we're going to have access to everything, I think he's true. And I think we're going to have stints of it. So everyone's going to have the joy of having a yacht on the Aegean for a week. Everyone's going to have the joy of driving a Ferrari through Monaco. Like, I've had that joy. That's a cool thing, right? When you pull up to the Grand Casino in Monaco and a Ferrari, like, things, those are fun moments in life.
Yeah.
And I think that everyone deserves those. When I had it, I was just a kid, man, going to school in the south of France. Like, I just had a rich friend, and he facilitated that experience for me. So, do you have to be rich to have those experiences? No. But do you have to have friends that you love and respect to make that happen? Connection? Yeah, you do. So I think that people are kind of waking up, and I don't think they need these expensive things. And like, hey, the way the everyone's like holding on to their bank account now. I've never seen savings rates go so high so quickly. They're like, I can't spend that dollar. That dollar, I don't know where my next dollar
we're
is coming from.
we're in an interesting place. Anyways, Jordan, this has been a freaking amazing conversation, and so but we're gonna wrap it up. And guys, if you're watching this, if you like what we're talking about, would love it if you could like this video, leave an awesome comment, negative, positive, doesn't matter. It's all good. Feel free to share this video and make sure that you subscribe. We are on YouTube. These videos will be uploaded on YouTube at the 667 Experience. You can also find us on Apple iTunes starting hopefully next week. The episodes will be uploaded there, so you can download our ongoing podcasts or you can listen to them every Monday between 8:30 and 9 o'clock. We're going to get started, hopefully usually on time at 8:30, but regardless, we're going to have a lot of fun, guys, as we move forward. We wish you all an amazing night. And Jordan, you got anything you want to leave them with?
Yeah, Shane. Here's a little funny thing. When you said that good, bad, whatever, it reminded me of that show with Jay and Silent Bob. You remember those guys? And they made the rude comments on the internet about them, and they decided to spend all their money flying around kicking people's ass. Are you Hamburglar 532? Just smack the kids around. That was awesome. Mallrats, man. If you haven't seen the movie, you got to check it out.
All
That
right,
was great.
Mallrats. Gotcha. Cool.
All right.
All right, guys. Well, we appreciate you. We're going to have a great night. God bless. And make sure you stay tuned for the next episode of the 667 Experience. Wait.